There's a patch of red clay in West Texas, 875 acres of it, that, as recently as the summer of 2024, was nothing but mesquite trees and dry brush and open wind. Flat, featureless land at the western edge of a city most Americans have never thought about once in their lives. Abilene, Texas, population 125,000. Known for country music, rodeos, 3 Christian universities, and the kind of July heat that makes the horizon shimmer like something is wrong with it. In 2026, that patch of nowhere is running the most powerful AI computer ever built, and nobody saw it coming.
That land in West Texas, 2 years ago, brush, red clay, and nothing. Now it might be the most consequential piece of ground in the world.
Because on that same land today, 8 buildings the size of major international airport terminals are being assembled simultaneously. More than 6,000 construction workers are on site around the clock. Night shifts, weekend shifts, through triple-digit Texas summers. The concrete already in the ground is enough to lay the foundations of more than 6,000 individual homes. Cranes, dozens of them, are visible from the highway before you can read a single sign on the fence line. This is not a government complex, not a military base. And it is being built faster than anything this large has ever been built on American soil. This is Project Stargate. And if you came here thinking the engineering challenge is just put a lot of computers in a Texas warehouse, you have no idea what you're about to find out. Start with the name. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, picked it from a 1994 science fiction film. During the early internal design phase, the architecture the team was sketching looked like the ring-shaped portals from the movie, the gateways that opened wormholes to other worlds. The name stuck. The largest private infrastructure commitment in American history takes its name from a film most people have completely forgotten. The money doesn't have a precedent. The total commitment stands at up to $500 billion, deployed over 4 years by a joint venture led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank, with additional backing from the UAE-based investment fund MGX and a ring of technology partners including Nvidia, ARM, and Microsoft. $500 billion. That is more than the entire GDP of Denmark. The gate, more than this country has ever committed to any single infrastructure project, by a wide margin. An initial $100 billion was deployed immediately, directed at the first campus in Abilene, with concrete going into the ground before the first announcement had even finished landing in the news cycle. Each of the 8 buildings going up in Abilene spans roughly 980,000 square feet, nearly 1 million square feet per building. When all 8 are complete, the target being mid-2026, the campus will cover approximately 7.8 million square feet of total floor space across 875 acres of West Texas. To get there, the construction team has been moving concrete at a pace that requires a comparison to make any kind of sense. As of September 2025, the site received approximately 480,000 cubic yards of concrete. The average American house foundation uses somewhere between 80 and 90 cubic yards, depending on design, which means that in roughly 14 months of active construction, this site had poured enough concrete to build the foundations of more than 6,000 homes, and they still weren't done.
6,000 foundations, already underground.
Construction team's internal nickname for the Abilene project was Project Ludicrous, as in the speed at which they were being asked to build it was, in their own words, ludicrous. OpenAI's chief financial officer, Sarah Fryer, stood on that site in September 2025 and said what everyone working the project already knew. No one in the history of man built data centers this fast. That's the part nobody talks about. The speed isn't incidental to the challenge, it is the challenge. And here's where the physics becomes truly unforgiving. To run what Stargate is trying to run inside those facilities, somewhere in the range of 400,000 Nvidia GB200 Blackwell chips, the most advanced AI processors manufactured in 2025, you need power at a scale that has no comparable precedent in the private sector. When the full Abilene campus is operational, this single site will draw 1.2 gigawatts for these 8 structures in this one city in West Texas. For a sense of what that means, It is more than the power required to supply approximately 750,000 American homes. The residential consumption of a major metro area channeled into a single facility in a city of 125,000 people. Texas power grid wasn't ready for this. ERCOT, the agency managing the majority of Texas's electricity, was already under real strain before Stargate arrived. Demand across the state is projected to climb by more than 60% over the next 5 years, driven in large part by the proliferation of sites exactly like this one. Getting a new site of this magnitude connected to the grid takes months, sometimes years. The queue is long and it's getting longer. So the Stargate development team made a decision that sounds, the first time you hear it, like it shouldn't be possible at a construction site. They built their own power plant.
Building your own power plant on site isn't a fallback. It's the entire strategy. They brought their own grid. The utility companies never got the call.
An application to construct a 360-megawatt simple-cycle natural gas power plant on the Abilene campus was filed with regulators in January 2025. Turbines came from GE Vernova and Solar Turbines in equal measure. The plant is engineered to operate off the main grid entirely if needed, a self-contained power ecosystem feeding directly into the data halls. A large battery storage system absorbs excess capacity from nearby West Texas wind farms during high output periods and discharges it when wind drops. A dedicated solar array handles daytime supplemental generation. The long-term ERCOT connection remains in progress, but for the first years of this campus running at full output, Abilene, Texas has its own private power grid, independent of whatever else Texas is managing at peak hours. Just let that sink in. The team building the world's most powerful AI computing complex couldn't wait for the power company, so they became the power company now. 400,000 AI chips running at that density generate heat in quantities that no conventional cooling system can handle. This is where Stargate's engineering most visibly separates itself from every data center that came before it. Standard data centers cool their servers with air, cold corridors, hot corridors, industrial fans, airflow management cycling constantly. Others use evaporative cooling towers that move millions of gallons of water annually into the atmosphere. For the thermal density of GB200 class AI workloads, neither method holds up. Heat output per rack at this configuration exceeds what any air-based system can realistically handle. So Crusoe Energy's engineering team, Crusoe being the startup developing and operating the Abilene campus, built a closed-loop, direct-to-chip liquid cooling system. The details are worth slowing down for.
Liquid goes straight onto each chip. Sealed loop. Zero evaporation, ever. 1 million gallons for the initial charge. Afterward, the system needs almost no water.
The liquid moves through sealed tubes to cold plates mounted directly on each GPU. Heat transfers from the chip into the fluid. The fluid carries it to a heat exchanger, which releases the thermal load to the outside air. Cooled liquid then loops back to the chips. Sealed circuit, no evaporation, no open discharge. According to data published by the Site Selection Group, annual water use per building after the initial fill runs at approximately 12,000 gallons per year, a fraction of what evaporative towers at comparable load would consume annually, per building, per year. In Texas, where water pressure is a real and growing problem, that engineering decision might matter more than any chip in the building. And it is one of the least reported choices the project made. And here's where Abilene's story takes a turn that nobody planned for, and that changes what this city is quietly becoming. While Stargate was being announced, funded, and constructed at what its own crews called Ludicrous speed, Abilene was already, for entirely separate reasons, turning into a hub for the most advanced nuclear energy research being done anywhere in the United States. Abilene Christian University received in 2024 the first permit ever issued by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission to build an advanced reactor on a university campus anywhere in America. A molten salt reactor. Installed underground in a concrete-lined trench 25 feet deep beneath a newly completed laboratory building on campus. The project was founded by a nuclear physicist at ACU who spent years as an instructor at the U.S. Naval Nuclear Power School launched the research program in 2015, secured Department of Energy backing in 2019, and has spent a decade moving toward this moment, advanced nuclear, at a Christian university in West Texas nobody had ever heard of.
Abilene was moving toward nuclear before Stargate arrived. Call it a pattern.
Then, a Washington, D.C.-based startup called Last Energy announced plans to build 30 nuclear power plants roughly an hour north of Abilene, pointing explicitly to the data center demand, now concentrated in this region, as the market driving that investment. 30 reactors, one county over from where 400,000 AI chips are training the next generation of language models. Energy follows compute. Compute landed in Abilene. Chips at the center of this operation are Nvidia's GB200, architecture codenamed Blackwell, the most advanced AI processors commercially available in 2025. Oracle reportedly committed to approximately 400,000 of them for the Abilene campus alone. The estimated value of that chip order, before the buildings, before the power plant, before the cooling infrastructure, sits at roughly $40 billion. The hardware going into this campus costs more than the campus that holds it. That's the world we're in. Chips are networked to function as a single unified compute cluster, not a warehouse of individual machines running separate jobs. One integrated system, operating together across the whole campus. The kind of machine you need to train next-generation AI models at the pace the industry is currently demanding. The first two buildings went live in the fall of 2025. Each spans 980,000 square feet and holds up to 50,000 Nvidia GB200 NVL72 racks. Model training was already underway in Abilene before the remaining 6 finished construction. This is also the point where the scale of the national program needs to be clearly separated from what Abilene represents on its own. The 1.2 gigawatts at the Abilene campus is a single site. 8 buildings, 1 city. Project Stargate at the national level, encompassing campuses planned or under development in Texas, New Mexico, Ohio, Wisconsin, and additional states still being evaluated, targets 10 gigawatts of total AI infrastructure capacity across the United States. 10 gigawatts, enough power demand to permanently reshape pressure on the American grid. 6, enough compute to alter the balance of AI capability between this country and every other nation building toward the same destination. More than 300 proposals came in from more than 30 states when OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank issued their site request in January 2025. 30 states competed to become the next Abilene. JP Morgan Chase arranged a $2.3 billion construction loan for Phase 1. A $7.1 billion loan followed for Phase 2. A project was compared, in more than one credible publication, to the Manhattan Project, not because of danger, because of the mobilization speed, the capital concentration, and the national strategic framing behind it. And all of it, the $500 billion commitment, the 10 gigawatts of planned capacity, the 8 buildings going up simultaneously on red West Texas clay, rests on a single premise. AI needs far more compute than the world currently has. Whoever builds that compute first shapes what the technology can do, and for whom. Go back to that red clay, 875 acres of mesquite brush and West Texas wind, as recently as the summer of 2024. 14 months later, 2 airport-sized buildings live and running. 6 more under active construction, $40 billion in chips arriving on pallets, a private natural gas power plant running behind the fence line, and a nuclear research facility being assembled underground 1 city over. Project Ludicrous, built exactly as fast as the name suggests. Workers are on that site because of what's at stake. An off-grid power plant sits inside the fence because the grid couldn't keep pace. A nuclear physicist at a small Christian university in the same town spent a decade building a molten salt reactor beneath a concrete laboratory floor, and 30 more microreactors are being planned 1 county north. All of it because the appetite of what is now running in Abilene has no real precedent in American infrastructure. That's the compute problem. Mostly solved. Brutally expensive. Absurdly fast. But there's a different kind of impossible happening right now in America, and it has nothing to do with servers or chips or gigawatts. It has to do with speed, physical speed. Steel on rail, cutting through one of the most hostile environments on Earth at 200 miles per hour in the middle of the Mojave Desert. $21 billion, nearly 220 miles of track across open desert. Summer temperatures that regularly hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And an engineering team that looked at all of that and said, we're building it anyway. Most people have no idea this project even exists. And the problems they had to solve to make it possible. The heat, the sand, the ground that moves when temperatures swing are unlike anything American rail engineering has ever faced. Hit subscribe, because what they're building across the Mojave makes all of this look like the easy part.